Josh Matthews, a once celebrated professional baseball player, finds himself driving into the quiet Amish town of Sugarcreek, Ohio, with his young son, Ryan, sitting silently beside him. The truck they're in rattles down the road, its old engine groaning in protest as they pass through fields of golden wheat and picturesque farms. For Josh, this town represents more than just a stopover. It's a sanctuary from the storm his life has become. Josh is a man running from the weight of his past. His wife's tragic and mysterious death has turned his once glamorous life into a nightmare. Not only did he lose the love of his life, but rumors and suspicions surrounding her death have turned him into a target for the media. Everywhere they go, the press follows, prying into his grief, forcing him to protect Ryan from the harsh scrutiny. Josh's heart is heavy with guilt and pain, and it's that very pain that has driven him to this small, unassuming town, seeking refuge for his son and some peace for himself. Ryan, just 7 years old, sits quietly in the passenger seat, his large brown eyes filled with sadness beyond his years. He clutches a well-worn baseball glove, a gift from his late mother, as if it's the only thing holding him together. He's seen too much: his father's grief, the invasive press, and the world turning upside down. Sugarcreek feels like the last hope for some kind of normalcy. As they pull into the town, Josh takes in the serene surroundings, the simple homes, the horse-drawn buggies, and the rolling hills. For a moment, he feels a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, they can find peace here. But as they arrive at the cozy bed and breakfast run by 3 elderly Amish sisters, Anna, Bertha, and Lydia, Josh's mind remains restless. He's desperate, exhausted, and ready to do anything to keep his son safe. For that reason, he introduces himself under a false name, fearing that his true identity would only bring trouble to their doorstep. The 3 sisters welcome Josh and Ryan with open arms, their warmth and hospitality a stark contrast to the chaos they've left behind. Bertha, the eldest, is stern but kind, her soft eyes filled with years of wisdom. Anna, with her gentle nature, fusses over Ryan, offering him cookies and milk, while Lydia keeps to her quiet duties, making sure their new guests are comfortable. But not everyone in Sugarcreek is as trusting. Michelle Troyer, the sister's niece, is a local policewoman with a sharp eye and a no-nonsense attitude. Raised in Sugarcreek, she's protective of her aunts and has always been wary of outsiders. When she first lays eyes on Josh, something about him doesn't sit right. His guarded demeanor, the way he avoids eye contact, the false name, everything raises red flags for Michelle. She's seen enough in her career to know when someone's hiding something, and Josh Matthews screams secrets. But there's something else, too, a deep sadness in his eyes that draws her in, making her feel an unexplainable pull toward him. Still, Michelle knows better than to let her guard down. She has her own baggage to deal with, especially the unresolved grief from her mother's death, which continues to shape her life. For now, her priority is keeping an eye on Josh and making sure her aunts aren't getting involved with someone who could be trouble. Days pass, and while Josh and Ryan try to blend into the town's quiet routine, Michelle remains on high alert. The soft-spoken boy and his reserved father intrigue her, and the more she observes them, the more her suspicion grows. Michelle, with her sharp instincts honed from years in law enforcement, senses that Josh isn't just another traveler passing through town. Josh keeps a low profile, making every effort to avoid unnecessary attention. He does small repairs around the bed and breakfast to repay the sisters for their hospitality, but he avoids making connections with anyone else. Every moment feels like a balancing act for him, trying to stay under the radar while protecting Ryan, all while fighting the grief and guilt that linger just beneath the surface. But Michelle notices everything. She watches Josh's interactions with Ryan, how he's protective, almost too protective, like a man who has everything to lose. It's in the way his eyes constantly scan the surroundings, as if he's expecting danger at any moment. Then there's Ryan, sweet, polite, but undeniably sad. The boy has an innocence about him, but it's tinged with a sense of loss that breaks Michelle's heart. She finds herself softening toward the child, but with Josh, her instincts keep telling her something is off. Her internal conflict grows. On one hand, her protective instincts drive her to uncover Josh's secret. On the other hand, something about him stirs feelings she hasn't allowed herself to explore in years. He's clearly hurting, just like her, and Michelle feels an inexplicable connection to the man beneath the guarded exterior. Still, she keeps her distance, unwilling to let her emotions cloud her judgment. As Josh becomes more involved in the daily life of the bed and breakfast, Michelle can't shake the feeling that his past will soon catch up to him. She starts subtly asking him questions, probing for details that don't add up, but Josh remains evasive. The tension between them simmers just below the surface, Michelle's suspicion battling against her growing attraction, and Josh's need for secrecy fighting against his own developing feelings for her. Josh knows Michelle is onto him. He can feel her eyes on him whenever they cross paths, and it rattles him. He can't afford to trust anyone, especially not a policewoman who might uncover the truth about his past. But there's something about Michelle that breaks through his defenses. Her strength, her quiet empathy, and the way she looks at Ryan with such tenderness. Michelle's patience begins to wear thin. She's not used to sitting back when her gut tells her something is wrong. And with each passing day, her need for answers grows stronger. One evening, while doing her regular patrols, Michelle spots Josh sitting on the front porch of the bed and breakfast, his shoulders hunched, staring out into the distance. Something in his posture, so defeated, so lost, makes her hesitate. She approaches him cautiously, and they fall into an uneasy conversation. Michelle asks about his past, her voice gentle but firm, probing deeper than she has before. This time, Josh doesn't deflect her questions. The weight of his secrets has become too much to bear, and the look in Michelle's eyes, part suspicion, part understanding, breaks something inside him. Josh finally tells her the truth. He confesses that his real name is Josh Matthews, and he reveals the heartbreaking details of his wife's death, the tragic accident that took her life, and the ensuing media frenzy that turned his world upside down. He explains how he became a suspect in her death, despite having loved her more than life itself. His voice cracks as he speaks, and for the first time, Michelle sees the depth of his pain. As he recounts the events that led him to Sugarcreek, Josh's eyes fill with tears. He talks about how Ryan, his precious son, had to witness the worst of it. The accusations, the flashing cameras, the whispers of doubt. All Josh has ever wanted is to protect Ryan from the ugliness of the world, but he feels like he's failed at every turn. Michelle listens in silence, her heart breaking for both Josh and Ryan. She can see the truth in his words, the genuine love he had for his wife, and the guilt that still haunts him. In that moment, all of her suspicions dissolve, replaced by empathy and understanding. She realizes that Josh isn't a threat. He's a man trying to escape a past that won't let him go. For the first time in years, Michelle allows herself to feel. She feels the weight of Josh's grief, the love he has for his son, and the fear that drives him. And underneath all of that, she feels something more, a connection to this man who, like her, is struggling to find peace in a world full of pain. With the truth out in the open, the dynamic between Josh and Michelle begins to shift. The tension that once hung between them is replaced by a growing sense of trust and mutual understanding. For the first time in a long time, Josh allows himself to breathe, no longer hiding behind lies and secrecy. He knows Michelle could easily turn him in or expose his location to the press, but something in her eyes tells him she won't. He feels a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, he can find solace here in Sugarcreek. Michelle, for her part, finds herself softening toward Josh in ways she hadn't expected. His vulnerability, his dedication to Ryan, and the depth of his grief all resonate with her. She understands pain. She's lived with it ever since her mother's death. And in Josh, she sees someone who, like her, is trying to find his way through the darkness. Their interactions become more natural, more effortless. Josh, who once kept his distance, starts to open up to Michelle, sharing small details about his life before the tragedy. He talks about his baseball career, the dreams he once had, and how everything changed after his wife's death. There's a raw honesty in the way he speaks to Michelle now, a vulnerability that was missing before. It's as if shedding the weight of his secrets has freed him, and Michelle finds herself drawn even more to the man behind the guarded exterior. Josh begins to smile more around Michelle and Ryan, something that hadn't happened in a long time. He watches as Ryan, slowly but surely, starts to come out of his shell, thanks in no small part to Michelle's gentle kindness. Michelle, who had always kept her emotional distance from others, finds herself growing attached to both father and son. Ryan, with his big eyes and soft smile, has captured her heart, and the more time she spends with Josh, the more she realizes just how much they mean to her. It's in the small moments that Michelle feels the shift between them. The quiet conversations on the porch as the sun sets over the rolling fields, the shared laughter when Ryan does something funny, the way Josh looks at her with something unspoken in his eyes. These moments, filled with tenderness and warmth, are slowly building something between them, something deeper than just attraction. One evening, after putting Ryan to bed, Josh and Michelle sit on the porch, the stars twinkling in the night sky above them. The cool breeze carries the scent of freshly cut hay, and the peacefulness of the night surrounds them. For a while, they sit in comfortable silence, both lost in their thoughts. Then, Josh speaks, his voice quiet but filled with emotion. "I didn't think I'd ever find peace again after everything that's happened," he admits, his eyes fixed on the horizon. "But being here with you, it's the first time I felt like I could breathe in a long time." Michelle's heart tightens at his words, her chest swelling with an emotion she hasn't felt in years. She turns to him, her gaze soft and filled with understanding. "You deserve peace, Josh. You and Ryan both. And I'm glad you found your way here." Her voice is gentle but firm, and as she speaks, she places her hand on his, a small but significant gesture of comfort and support. Josh looks down at their hands, then back up at Michelle, his heart pounding in his chest. There's something in her eyes, something kind and steady, that makes him feel safe in a way he hasn't felt in a long time. He knows he's falling for her, and the thought both terrifies and exhilarates him. He spent so long running, so long protecting himself and Ryan from the world, that allowing someone in feels like the greatest risk he's ever taken. But looking into Michelle's eyes, Josh knows it's a risk he's willing to take. Without thinking, Josh leans in, his lips brushing softly against Michelle's. It's a tender kiss, filled with all the unspoken feelings that have been building between them. For a moment, time seems to stop as they both lose themselves in the warmth and softness of the kiss. When they pull away, there's a sense of something new between them, something fragile yet strong, like the beginning of something beautiful. Michelle's cheeks flush slightly, but she doesn't pull away. Instead, she smiles, her heart pounding in her chest. For the first time in a long time, she feels alive, like a piece of her that had been missing has finally returned. From that moment on, their relationship deepens. They spend more time together, sharing their hopes, their fears, and their dreams. Josh opens up about his wife more, speaking about the good times they shared, but also the pain of losing her. Michelle listens with empathy, understanding his grief in a way no one else can. In turn, Michelle begins to share more of herself with Josh, talking about her mother's death and how it shaped her life. There's a deep emotional connection forming between them, one built on trust, understanding, and love. As the days go by, it becomes clear that Josh and Michelle are no longer just two people who cross paths by chance. There's something more now, partners, confidants, and maybe, just maybe, something even deeper than that. But as their love grows, so too do the complications. Josh knows that his past still looms over him, and as much as he wants to stay in Sugarcreek, there's a part of him that fears his presence will only bring trouble to Michelle and her family. The media is still out there, waiting for any opportunity to pounce, and the mystery surrounding his wife's death is far from over. For Michelle, her feelings for Josh have become undeniable, but her duty as a police officer still tugs at her. She knows Josh's secrets, but there's still a lingering uncertainty about what the future holds for them. She's never allowed herself to fall in love before, and now that she has, the thought of losing Josh terrifies her. Their love is tested as they both confront the realities of their lives. Josh's need to protect his son from the ghosts of the past, and Michelle's struggle to balance her love for Josh with her responsibilities as a law enforcement officer. But despite the challenges, there's one thing they both know for sure. Their love for each other is real, and it's worth fighting for. The quiet days in Sugarcreek stretch into weeks, and for Josh, Michelle, and Ryan, life begins to settle into a comforting rhythm. The peaceful Amish community wraps itself around them like a warm blanket, offering them solace from the chaos that once defined their lives. Josh, no longer looking over his shoulder at every turn, feels lighter than he has in years. And the more time he spends with Michelle, the deeper his feelings grow. Michelle, too, is falling for Josh, though it's a realization that comes slowly and carefully. She's always been guarded, protective of her heart, especially after losing her mother. But there's something about Josh, his vulnerability, his strength, and the way he looks at her like she's the only thing anchoring him, that makes her want to let him in. Ryan, with his shy smile and brightening spirit, has also wormed his way into her heart. She finds herself loving the boy as if he were her own, and that only strengthens her feelings for Josh. As they grow closer, the moments between them become more intimate, more tender. They share quiet dinners with Ryan, watch the sunset from the porch, and take walks along the fields that stretch far beyond Sugarcreek's borders. Each day, they talk about their hopes for the future, though the uncertainty of what that future looks like for Josh and Ryan still hangs over them. One evening, after tucking Ryan into bed, Josh and Michelle sit together on the porch, the stars twinkling above them in a clear night sky. There's a sense of peace between them, the kind of peace that only comes when two hearts finally find their way to each other. Josh reaches for Michelle's hand, and she intertwines her fingers with his. The simple gesture filled with a depth of emotion they both feel but haven't fully expressed. Josh turns to her, his voice quiet but steady. "I never thought I'd find happiness again," he admits, his gaze soft and full of affection. "Not after everything. But you've given me something I didn't think was possible. You've given me hope." Michelle's heart swells at his words. She's always been strong, always been the one to hold herself together. But with Josh, she feels something different. She feels safe to be vulnerable, safe to love. She looks at him, her eyes glistening in the moonlight. "I'm glad you came here, Josh. I didn't realize how much I needed you, how much I needed this." Josh leans in, his lips brushing softly against hers in a kiss that's both tender and full of promise. When they pull away, there's no more need for words. They both know what this is. It's love, real and powerful, and it's something neither of them is willing to let go. But as much as their love deepens, the shadow of Josh's past is never far away. The town of Sugarcreek is a peaceful haven, but it can't shield him from the reality of his situation forever. The media, always hungry for a new story, eventually tracks Josh down. It's only a matter of time before his whereabouts are leaked, and when that happens, the tranquility of their lives is shattered. One morning, as Michelle is finishing her patrols and heading toward the bed and breakfast, she spots a familiar car parked on the street. Her heart drops as she recognizes the vehicle, an out-of-town reporter who's been snooping around for the past few days. Her worst fears are realized when she sees Josh standing outside, speaking tensely with the man. Michelle rushes over, her heart pounding with fear and anger. Josh's face is pale, his jaw tight as the reporter bombards him with questions about his wife's death, his disappearance, and what he's been hiding. Michelle steps between them, her voice firm and commanding. "That's enough," she says, glaring at the reporter. "Leave him alone." But the damage is done. The press now knows where Josh is, and it's only a matter of time before more reporters descend on Sugarcreek. Josh's worst nightmare has come true, and as he looks at Michelle, he sees the devastation in her eyes. He doesn't want to bring this chaos into her life, not after everything she's done for him and Ryan. "I should leave," Josh says quietly, his voice thick with emotion. "I can't let them do this to you, Michelle. I can't let them tear apart everything you've built here." Michelle's heart breaks at his words, but she won't let him go so easily. She steps closer to him, her voice steady despite the fear gripping her chest. "You don't have to leave, Josh. We'll figure this out together. I'm not going to let you run away from this." "Not anymore," Josh looks at her, torn between the need to protect her and the overwhelming love he feels for her. He spent so long running, so long hiding, but Michelle makes him want to fight, to stand his ground and face whatever comes. And he knows, deep down, that he can't do it without her. Together, they come up with a plan. With Michelle's help, Josh decides to face the accusations head-on. It's a terrifying prospect, standing in front of the world and defending himself. But with Michelle by his side, he knows he's not alone. In the days that follow, Josh takes the first steps toward clearing his name. Michelle supports him every step of the way, using her connections in law enforcement to gather the evidence needed to prove his innocence. It's not easy. There are still many who doubt him, who are eager to paint him as a villain. But with Michelle's unwavering belief in him, Josh finds the strength to keep going. Ryan, too, begins to come out of his shell even more, thriving in the stability and love that Josh and Michelle provide. The boy, once so withdrawn and sad, now smiles and laughs more often. He begins to trust that everything will be okay, and it's clear to Josh that Michelle's presence in their lives has made all the difference. As the truth about Josh's wife's death comes to light, the media frenzy begins to die down. The real cause of the accident is revealed, an unfortunate, tragic mistake, and Josh is finally able to clear his name. The weight that's been pressing down on him for so long is lifted, and for the first time, he feels truly free. With his name cleared, Josh no longer has to live in hiding. He's free to build a life in Sugarcreek, the town that has become more of a home to him and Ryan than anywhere else ever has. And at the center of that home is Michelle. One evening, under the soft glow of the setting sun, Josh takes Michelle's hand as they stand together in the field behind the bed-and breakfast. Ryan plays nearby, his laughter filling the air, and for a moment, everything feels perfect. "I never thought I'd get a second chance at happiness," Josh says quietly, his eyes filled with emotion as he looks at Michelle. "But I've found it with you." Michelle smiles, her heart full of love for this man who has become her everything. "You deserve this, Josh. We both do." He pulls her close, wrapping his arms around her as they share a tender kiss. The future stretches out before them, filled with hope and promise. And for the first time in a long time, they both believe in the possibility of a happily ever after. As they stand together, watching Ryan chase fireflies in the distance, they know that whatever challenges come their way, they'll face them together. Their love, born out of pain and loss, has become something strong, something enduring, something that will last forever. And as the sun dips below the horizon, casting the world in a soft golden light, Josh, Michelle, and Ryan look out at the future, knowing that they have finally found their happily ever after. Hope you enjoyed this story. Don't forget to like it and subscribe to our channel. Your participation is essential so that we can continue to bring you more incredible stories. Share it with your friends to help our channel grow. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.